Pathetic. Europe may finally be waking up from its military slumber. London and Paris CNN. It was the televised ambush that many in Europe hope will stop a war. Donald Trump's dressing down of Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky at the White House was the lightning strike to the transatlantic alliance, dispelling lingering illusions in Europe about whether their American cousin will stand with them to counter Russian aggression. Reeling, perhaps even fearful, Europe may have finally come to its senses over its self-defense needs in the era of Trump. It is as if Roosevelt welcomed Churchill to the White House and started bullying him, European lawmaker Raphael Glucksmann told CNN. In a month when U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth called it called Europe pathetic for freeloading on defense in the group chat with administration officials, which inadvertently included in a journalist for the Atlantic. The continent had been shattering decade-old taboos in defense. On defense, policies are on the table that would have been unthinkable just weeks ago. The biggest change came in Germany, Europe's biggest economy. After the federal election, Chancellor in waiting Friedrich Merz won a vote in parliament to scrap Germany's constitutional debt brake, a mechanism to limit government borrowing. In principle, the law change allows for unlimited spending on defense and security. Experts expect the move to unlock as much as 600 billion euro, $652 billion in Germany over the next decade. The merit speaks at the Bundestag during its vote to remove the debt brake in Berlin, March 18, 2025. This is the game changer in Europe because Germany was the laggard, especially among the big countries when it comes to defense. Piotr Buras, the senior fellow at the European Council on Foreign Relations, an international think tank, told CNN. In getting over its phobia of death, Buras said that Germany has finally acted as though Europe really had passed the Wende, or turning point, as described by outgoing Chancellor Olaf Scholz in February 2022, just 3 days after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Although the invasion jolted Germany, only the Trump shock made them take this really fundamental decision of suspending the debt brake, said Buras. This is the real, proper Wende. Taboos crumbling. In neighboring France, President Emmanuel Macron, who has long called for European strategic autonomy from the US, has said he is considering extending the protection of its nuclear arsenal to its allies, already ostensibly shattered by American bombs. Macron's comment earlier this month came after Merz advocated for talks with France and the United Kingdom, Europe's two nuclear powers, overextending their nuclear protection. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk welcomed the idea and even called for Poland to consider getting nuclear weapons itself. Meanwhile, Poland and Baltic states Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, all neighbors to Russia, have pulled it out of the 1997 Ottawa Treaty on Landmines, long considered a key milestone in the end to mass warfare. Lithuania has already announced the purchase of 85,000 landmines. Poland is eyeing producing 1 million domestically. Lithuania also withdrew from the international treaty against the cluster munitions this month, becoming the first signatory ever to do so. Military conscription has also made a comeback on the continent. Denmark made women eligible for obligatory conscription from 2026 and lowered the health requirement for some roles as part of the bolstering of the country's armed forces. Poland has also announced plans for every adult male to undergo military training. Denmark is among the European countries making changes to laws on conscription. Even famously neutral countries are reconsidering their positions amid discussions about how to keep the peace in Ukraine in the event of the settlement. The government in Ireland, a military law focused on peacekeeping operations, put forward a restoration to allow troops to be deployed without UN approval, skirting a possible Russian or American veto. It's long been an uncomfortable and often unspoken truth in Europe that each protection from invasion was ultimately dependent on the American cavalry arriving over the horizon. That support no longer looks so sure. The pivot goes be, uh, the pivot goes beyond who will do the fighting to who will provide the arms. Who some have begun to question future purchases of the astronomically expensive US-made F-35 jet that several European air forces have planned to acquire. Portuguese Defense Minister Nuno Melo said this country was re-evaluating the expected purchases of the jet in preference for European alternative over concerns of the US controlled supply of spare part. First time such concerns were aired publicly at such a high level, especially in favor of jet that on paper don't offer the same capabilities. European unity. But although Europe seems to have gotten the message, talks of the unified approach is premature. When European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen unveiled the plan to spend more billions more on defense, called Rearm Europe, Spain and Italy balked. The plan has since been renamed Readiness 2030. Italy's Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has also ruled out sending Italian troops as part of the European contingent to keep the peace in Ukraine if the negotiated settlement, another key issue on which the continent is split. The rebranding indicates that a dividing line in Europe, the further away from Russia a country is, the less likely it is to put guns before butter. Von der Leyen's defense plan has faced pushback from the certain EU member state. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said this month that our threat is not Russia bringing its troops across the Pyrenees. He called on Brussels to take into account that the challenges we face in the south neighborhood are a bit different to the ones that the eastern flank faces. Gabrielius Landsbergis, Lithuania's former foreign minister, told CNN he was upset by the Spanish statement and that a recent trip to Kiev, where air raid sirens blast most night, made it all too easy to imagine similar scenes occurring in Vilnius in the future. The further west you go, the more difficult it is to imagine that sort of thing. All the problems, all the decisions, they are relative, Landsbergis said. Although this geographical split could deepen divisions. Boss of the ECFR said total European unity would always be an illusion. What really matters is what the key countries do, he said, pointing to Germany, France, and the UK and Poland. I want to be cautiously optimistic, but I think we're on the right track now. Asked whether March would be remembered as the month Europe woke up, Bruss said, yes, we have waken up. Now, but now we need to get dressed.